What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. You guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And you guys, today is a beautiful Tuesday afternoon here in New York City. Yesterday I had a minor panic attack. You guys, yesterday, and that involved my passport. It appears that my passport is expiring in I guess now it's 29 days. It's one of those things. It's like on the back of your brain. You're like, yeah. I know my passport's expiring. I know I need to get this taken care of. And I just hadn't done it. And so I looked it up and I was like, okay, because when you go to get like rush service, for those of you who have not ever had to like renew your passport before, to get rush service, it's easy. You just walk right in and say, I need day of service. And they say, great, do you have documentation to prove that you need day of service? And you say, yes, I do. Here's my documentation. And they say, great, pay us $180. And you say, here's $180. And they say, great, wait here for about an hour or like 3 hours, or I don't know, however long it takes. And then you come back in like an hour or two, and they say, here's your passport, have a great day. And you say, thank you. And then that's it, right? Well, in a COVID world, getting your passport renewed is not that easy. It turns out that they don't do day of service anymore. You literally have to mail your passport away. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot of hoops they have to jump through, and I had no idea. So if you're renewing your passport in a COVID world, best of luck to you, because it's a nightmare. But you know what is not a nightmare? My guest today, she's a lovely lady. Geez Louise, Dominica, we've known each other for quite some time. She's a comedian, she's an improviser, she's a published author. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Dominica May!
Hi!
Woo, 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 woo! Dominica, how's it going?
I'm doing well. It's funny that I know so many people doing really horribly in the pandemic. I'm unemployed, but I'm doing remarkably well despite all of that.
It's so weird how that happens, right? Like, because I've been sort of furloughed once. I'm in a month now. I'm going to be in a month and a half. I'm being furloughed again, a second time during the pandemic. But like, everything's kind of working itself out. It's weird, right?
Yeah, definitely. Also, I didn't know that you knew I was a published author.
I do. There's many things that I know about you, Dominica. Dominica, you and I have met on the improv circuit. We've met at multiple festivals around the United States. I think Alaska was our first festival where we met. Was it?
It was Hawaii.
It was Hawaii?
You directed me in the solo improvisers coming to a group thing together.
Wait, that was the improvised movie that we did at the Kumakahua Theater, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I do remember that. Okay, that's right. That was the first. Yes. Oh man, that's a deep cut.
What? Because I knew something that you didn't remember.
Hey, you remembered something that I didn't, and I knew you're a published author. Speaking of which, would you care to plug your book?
Yeah, I actually have 3 books, but the one that I'm an author of, because I wrote the entire thing, the other ones are anthologies. It's a pirate time travel novel, and it's called Adrift, published under a different name because I got divorced last year, so I'm not using that name anymore.
We'll just plug the title of it.
So Adrift is the title. And yeah, the protagonist, she's a bisexual pirate. She's from the mid 1600s, and she crosses over into the year 2011. And I don't want to give more information than that because spoilers.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin the story of your own book. Dominica, that's so cool. That's so fun. I'm excited to talk more about that and other projects that you have coming up. But before we can get to talking about you and your projects and all of that good stuff, first of all, I have to jump over and plug my own YouTube channel. You guys, if you haven't done so already, head over to youtube.com, type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a little red rectangle that says subscribe. Go ahead and click on that button. And what clicking on that button does, it helps us to widen our subscriber base. And with the more subscribers we get, the more watched content the channel gets. With the more watched content the channel gets, I get to make this show my full-time job. So I very much appreciate that. And of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, the live portion of the show will move from Facebook to YouTube. So just keep that on your radar there. And as always, you guys, if you want to get a question or a comment on the show, as long as it's family friendly, go ahead and send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com, and we'll make your family friendly comment or question, anything about like movies, movie related things, fan theories, television shows, anything within your wheelhouse. If you think it's in our wheelhouse, send it on over and we'll make it a main topic on the show. All right, guys, with all that down and out of the way, now it's time to go over and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
What? All right, you guys. There's surprisingly, like when I started researching movies and movie news today, on the surface, it didn't seem to be a lot out there, a lot of things breaking, but there's some pretty interesting things that are happening in the world. And first of all is this. If you've been watching the show at all, you know that every now and again I like to talk about hip hop and rap. And how, like, when I was raised, when I was growing up in the community, rap and hip hop was just not something that anyone really listened to. Well, I mean, in my community, in the circle of people that I ran in, it just wasn't all that popular. And maybe about 10, 15 years ago, it was something that I started looking into and started listening to. Like every now and again, yeah, you hear like a Tupac song, you hear something by Public Enemy, and you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that. And so I started investigating and digging deeper, and the stories of rap and hip hop are so fascinating, and I love it so much. Especially now living in New York, I have like this extra sense of maybe pride that I should not take ownership of. But it's like, it's this uniquely New York thing. Try saying that 5 times fast. Unique New York. But yeah, it's something that I love. Well, anyway, yesterday, Netflix dropped a brand new trailer for a brand new documentary starring Biggie, the Notorious B.I.G. It's the documentary is called Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell, and it kind of tracks like the life of Notorious B.I.G., where he came from, how he grew up, how he was raised. It seems to track similarly in the biopic Notorious. If you're familiar with, was it 2011? I want to say off the top of my head is when Notorious came out. It was a really good movie, and this documentary seems to be fascinating. I love this kind of stuff. Anytime that I can get my hands on anything like hip hop related, especially with the documentary, and like really sink your teeth into. I love this kind of stuff. Dominica, you've had a chance to check out the trailer. Where do you sit with like rap, hip hop documentaries? Are you into the scene? Is this something that interests you? Like, how does this trailer strike you?
I feel a little bit embarrassed to admit that I'm not really that into like rap and hip hop stuff.
How dare you?
I read the article you sent me. I know, I read the article you sent me. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm glad I had this to read because I didn't even know that Notorious B.I.G. was one of the ones that had passed away. And then I saw when he had passed away in 97, I was like, oh my goodness, like that should have been around the time that my brother was listening to a lot of rap stuff. So I feel like that should have been on my radar in some context, but it wasn't.
Well, hey, like there's always a time and place. Like we can always make up from the things that we've missed, and pick up, because like I was saying, that was my thing. When Tupac and Biggie died, when they had like their huge falling out and that whole thing, it was one of those things that I was in middle school when it all went down. I remembered hearing stuff about that. Like I was removed from it, and I was vaguely exposed to it. Kurt Cobain's death was so much bigger in the community where I was living, where I grew up. Um, I feel I don't know why, but it was one of those things that I was aware of when Biggie died, but it wasn't like it didn't affect me. I didn't listen to his music. I didn't know anyone who else listened to his music. And and it was in the years later that transpired that I really started learning about the history between these two and how that all went down. And it's such a tragic story, but it's also a fascinating one and kind of a life lesson to say, like, there's so much. If you're not familiar with the whole beef between Tupac and Biggie, essentially it kind of went like this. Like, there was a huge misunderstanding. Tupac and Biggie were best friends, right? Or like they were close. Biggie was recording some kind of he was recording a song. I think it was called "Who Shot Ya," and it was kind of like a big vibrato kind of thing. And Tupac, who had very recently been in a shooting himself, he wasn't killed at the time. He didn't know who was behind this all. When Biggie was recording this track, "Who Shot Ya," he thought that was Biggie's way of saying, like, I'm in charge. Who shot ya? Ha ha, I gotcha, right? So Tupac had a huge falling out with Biggie. Of course, there's multiple sides to this story. This is at least what I know, right? So Tupac had a huge falling out with Biggie. Biggie's like, "What are you talking about? This song has nothing to do with you at all." And then some of Tupac's friends came and took down Biggie Smalls, and then, of course, a few months later, there was retaliation against Tupac, and it went down how that went down. But stuff like these kinds of stories, I feel like there's so much life lessons that we can learn about, like, understanding and communication and understanding where other people are coming from. It's not always about you. Sometimes it's about the situation. Sometimes it's about the other person. And I feel like those are the types of stories and life lessons that I need in my life. And I like to try and be a proponent to expose others to those types of things. Dominica, is that the type of, having said that, is there...
When you describe it that way, I can definitely relate to that side of things, because I've absolutely been misunderstood so many times. I'm autistic, so and I didn't know I was autistic until like 2017. How long ago was that? Was that
about
like
4
3 years
years
ago? 3.5. It was like mid then. And so, that led to a lot of, like, misunderstandings, people misinterpreting what I meant, like trying to read between the lines when there was nothing to read between the lines, because I'm very upfront. So I can definitely relate to that side of it.
It's something, like I said, sometimes it's not about you, it's about all of us, right? So anyway, guys, big question for you is what do you think of the Notorious B.I.G. documentary coming out on Netflix, rather? Is this the kind of thing that's right up your alley? Maybe after my description, does this get you a little bit more excited for it? I am definitely excited for it. Are you a hip-hop fan? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts there. All right, guys, moving on to our next bit of movie news. You may have heard there's a really small-time actor. He hasn't done a lot of stuff, especially not in the public eye. Yeah, he goes by the stage name of Tom Cruise, and he's been doing kind of like these action Mission Impossible films. You may not have heard of him. Anyway, Mission Impossible 7 and 8. Of course, I'm being ridiculously facetious right now. Mission Impossible 7 and 8 they've had so many production problems right now. In a COVID world, people like not keeping their masks on. Very famously, Tom Cruise a few weeks ago just cursed out his entire crew and staff, saying like, "You guys are breaking COVID protocols. If you do this, we get shut down. People lose their jobs. So much money is riding on this. You'll get fired. We'll get fired. Stop it." So it's been kind of a touch and go scenario. Well, even before the pandemic started, it was announced that they were filming Mission Impossible 7 and 8 back to back, which is such an ambitious move. Such an ambitious move. Well, now it's kind of being reported that Mission Impossible 7 and 8 are no longer going to be shooting back to back. They're going to shoot Mission Impossible 7, get that in the can, get it off to the studio for editing and post-production and all that stuff. And then it appears Tom Cruise, like, so much time has gone by in the production phase. Now it's time to go on and start promoting other films that Tom Cruise has been filming, like Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise kind of needs to take a break from Mission Impossible, and this is Paramount's doing. This is not Tom Cruise saying, "Hey, maybe I should take some time off from Mission Impossible and go promote my Top Gun movie." This is kind of the heavier hand of Paramount saying, like, you kind of need its time. Like, Top Gun Maverick's going to start coming out at the time that you finish filming Mission Impossible 7. Now, what's interesting about this article from Deadline is that they point out some interesting things where the gap isn't that huge. Right here in the middle of the article, it says, sources said that this is simply down to the shifting release calendar. Star Tom Cruise will now be needed on promotional duties by the studio for Top Gun Maverick ahead of the film's planned release on July 2nd. And will be out of action for a period. Once that film has rolled out, hopefully to packed cinemas in a post-COVID world, they're referring to Top Gun Maverick, production on Mission Impossible 8 can begin, meaning that the gap shouldn't be too impactful. So while, yes, it definitely looks like they're not going to be exactly filming Mission Impossible 7 and 8 back to back, they're going to have like a small window of like, all right, we're going to take like a month off from filming and then we're going to jump right back into production. Especially being that Mission Impossible 7 is slated to come out November of this year. Mission Impossible 8 is slated to come out in November of next year. So that's a very ambitious schedule. The only other time that I can think of like a spy action thriller coming out every year within the same franchise is James Bond back in the 1960s. Think about that for a second. When the James Bond franchise started in 1962, they did Dr. No in 1962. 1963 was From Russia with Love. 1964 was Goldfinger. It was after that they started doing it every other year. Not to say that they couldn't have done it every year, but the production scale started ramping up. By Goldfinger, Sean Connery was the biggest actor on the planet. He was the highest paid actor on the planet at the time. You know, this action franchise was just snowballing itself into A, existence, and B, into legend. And now, fast forward to the 90s, we start the Mission Impossible series, and it had been, 1996 was the first Mission Impossible film. Fast forward 4 years, and then we get Mission Impossible 2. Fast forward another 5 years, we get Mission Impossible 3. Fast forward even more, you know, like it has taken so much time, many years in between each Mission Impossible film. Now with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation, and now with my personal favorite, Fallout, they have been happening in closer succession with each other. But this is quite an ambitious move, especially if they have to take a little time, a little break off so that Tom Cruise can go promote Top Gun Maverick. it's incredibly ambitious for them to be coming out with 2 Mission Impossible films, yes, back to back, but 1 year in apart from their own release. The James Bond franchise can't even do that right now. I find this ridiculously fascinating. Dominica, I know you're not the biggest Tom Cruise fan. You're not the biggest Mission Impossible fan. I know that you do like your action movies and high adventure type stuff. But how does this strike you in terms of the production schedule? Do you think this is a smart move? Should they hold on to the November 2022 release date for Mission Impossible 8, or should they push it back a little bit? Like, what are your general thoughts here?
Well, I guess it depends on when they're actually going to start filming number 8.
It's possible they've already started.
The timeline on that.
It's possible that they've already started a little bit because, they have been public in saying they're going to film 7 and 8 back to back, which if they need the same set pieces, why not just film what you need for the 8th film while you're filming the 7th? It's a little bit more economical in that regard.
Right. So I'm thinking, because it's still only February 2021, and the release date is 22, right? So it's almost 2 years away still. And from my understanding, to shoot an action film, once you've got the script, it's usually about 2 years from when you start shooting to when it's released, yeah. Right? So it seems doable to me based on what my understanding is.
That's fair. Yeah. That's totally fair. I see this as an interesting opportunity to kind of show how organized you can be, or rather how organized one needs to be for a production like this, because there's been this idea within Hollywood that in order to make, let's say, an Avengers Endgame, because it was the highest grossing movie of all time, right? So with Avengers Endgame, it had one of the highest budgets. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was in the $300 million. You know what? I'm just gonna look it up. Let's just look it up real quick. Avengers Endgame budget. Okay. Yeah. $356 million was the budget of Avengers Endgame. So, to advertise the movie, you have to double your production budget. So if your production budget is $350 million, now you have to double that. So now we're at $700 million? And that's not even paying the movie theaters to play your movie. You haven't even paid your movie theaters to play your movie yet. So you have to multiply that times 1.5. Now we're looking at $1 billion, little over $1 billion just to break even. That's on a production budget of $350 million. So it's not that I'm necessarily opposed to it, but it does two things. One, kind of wasting money. I don't want to say wasting money, because Avengers Endgame was lovely. I took my issues with it, but it's part of the whole franchise and whatever, right? It's a wonderful movie. Kind of, sort of. Do you like that?
Sorry, I'm a Marvel nerd, so I'm just
You're not a Marvel fan?
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut right now.
Dude, I'm sorry. Did I hear you correctly? You're not a Marvel fan?
No, I am. I'm a Marvel nerd, so I'm just quietly.
I mean, there were whatever. But the other thing that it does with having such high production costs is that in turn, now we, the consumers, inevitably have to pay a little bit more. If movie tickets were. I think the national average approximately right now is $10 a movie ticket. It all depends on where you live and whatever, but some people in some places, movie tickets are $5. Other places, where I live, $25. If you want to go see a movie, you're gonna have to pay $25. So it kind of means that some of these production prices, if they're going up, that means your movie ticket goes up. so that profit margins can stay the same or, increase a little bit. So there's kind of been this idea, and I do like this Mission Impossible idea of filming. If you know you're going to do 7 and 8, and it seems like there hasn't been any confirmation on this, but it seems like 7 will be setting up the first half of one story, and 8 will be kind of like spiking the volleyball down a little bit, So it kind of seems like they're playing into the same story. If you know you're going to do it, it kind of makes sense to go about it this way. Do you see it any other way, Dominica?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, if the story is kind of, a longer story, like if there's multiple movies and a longer story, I do appreciate being able to see them closer together for sure.
Makes a huge difference. But the big question for you guys is, what do you think of Mission Impossible 7 and 8 no longer filming back to back? And again, it goes along with a huge asterisk, just because they're not filming back to back, they still kind of will. Like, they're going to take a small break in the middle between 7 and 8 so Tom Cruise can go off and promote his movie, and then they'll come right back to production, A lot of the heavy lifting, it seems, has already been worked out and finagled. But like I said, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know what those are. All right, guys. Our next bit of movie news this is something we've known that's been coming for a while. Back in December at the Disney Investors Day meeting, or was it November? I want to say it was November. Whenever it was. They announced this, but even before the Investors Day meeting, we knew it was coming down the pipeline long before. Like, there had been that one production still, and if it sounds like I'm speaking ambiguously, my apologies. It's Cruella. The new movie coming from Disney, live action starring Emma Stone. Now, today, they dropped the very first official poster for Cruella. And there it is. Ta-da! 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 Yeah, so, I mean, it looks like a fine poster. It looks kind of edgy. It has, like, this kind of grungy 90s feel to it. You can definitely see in, like, where it says Emma, E-M-M-A. The A is kind of in an anarchy symbol. Not quite anarchy, but it kind of has that feel, has like that like carved in look to it a little bit. Now, like I said, we've only had one production still from the film where, Cruella's, or rather Emma Stone as Cruella, is holding the leashes to a few dogs, and some of her goons are sitting on like a car, like rocks or something behind her, and it's kind of like in this run-down kind of neighborhood. So we've known it's going to have kind of like a grungy kind of feel to it, but it's also a Disney movie. Now, in this particular article from Collider, they point out how do you do a story about a diabolical villain who, like, her whole thing is that she kills puppies? Like, they've done 2 Maleficent movies already where it turns out that, well, Maleficent was just misunderstood. She was the hero the whole time, right? I don't think anybody wants Cruella de Vil to be the hero. I don't think we necessarily want her to be a misunderstood villain. She wants to murder puppies so that she can have a better wardrobe. Like, that's not a virtuous thing. Of course, like, however they're going to do this, they've got some pretty cool talent behind it and some great names attached to this. Dominica, you only recently today found out about the existence of this movie. Having read the article yourself, how in the world? Now, all of this is prefaced to say we're getting the trailer tomorrow. The trailer is dropping tomorrow. They've been very public in saying, like, yeah, here's the poster for the movie. Trailer comes tomorrow. So of course tomorrow we're going to cover the actual trailer. But how in the world is Disney going to pull this off?
I have no idea. you know, I'm curious. I'm fascinated. I thought that that article covered things really well because, yeah, how do you make someone who wants to kill puppies just like seem redeemable in some way? Because that's what you want in your villains. You want to have some redeeming factor, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like look at Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was such a fascinating um, story of, Vince Gilligan was very open about this. It was turning Mr. Chips into Scarface. And while I don't necessarily think this is going to be that kind of an origin story, because it's still like, as the article points out, it's within it's a Disney movie. You could tell that story in a really dark and interesting way, but I don't know if you could do it from a Disney perspective.
I'm thinking now of, and I haven't seen this movie either, but I'm thinking about Joker.
Oh,
And from what I've heard about that movie, like I said, I haven't seen it. They tried to show like some redeeming stuff to explain like how he became the kind of person that he was. Um, and so maybe that's what they're trying to do with Cruella, show how someone could end up making a lot of bad decisions to become that kind of person. To teach you a lesson to refrain yourself from following the same kind of path.
I mean, that's a really interesting take on it, because I mean, I loved Joker. I loved the Joker movie. It gave a lot of commentary about the world that we live in, about the state of the world that we live in, about our failing healthcare systems, about the importance of mental health and the care that it takes. And the constant vigilance there, not just for ourselves and making sure that there's a system in place, but also taking care of each other. Like, let's look after each other and check in on each other, and like, what do we need? And if we don't, this is what might happen. So that, I think that's a really interesting case study that you bring up. That, yeah, they're probably not going to go as dark as Joker,
Right.
shoot people in the face. Or rather, well, I'll leave that one alone because nobody's going to like me if I say what's on my mind right now. But yeah, I mean, there probably is a way, especially if they're building this up in a way where, like, this is a part one of a story. Maybe we don't know it's part one of the story. Maybe there's a sequel coming directly afterwards where, we get the traditional Pongo and, like the other 101 Dalmatians that band together to take down Cruella. I think that could be a really cool story that, it ends... it begs the question, what if Star Wars began with The Empire Strikes Back? What if there was no episode 4, A New Hope? What if it was just Empire Strikes Back? And then it ends on the bad guys winning. That could be an interesting way to go. It would be a bold way to go for Disney. I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and find out. Big question for you guys is what do you think of, first of all, of the Cruella poster? I think it has like some really interesting, evocative type imagery there, but we'll just have to wait for the trailer to drop tomorrow, and then we'll talk about it in more detail. But like I said, what do you think about it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, we have one last bit of news to cover today, and that is this. I've been fairly vocal on the show talking about my favorite television shows of all time. In order, they rank Frasier, favorite television show of all time. I love that show so much. Twilight Zone, the original, 1959, 5 seasons. Only 4 seasons if you decide not to count season 4, that's a whole other kettle of fish. Season 4, they went to the hour-long format instead. Third favorite television show of all time, Stranger Things. Fourth favorite television show of all time, Schitt's Creek. Hysterical. But let's go back to my number 3 spot for a second, shall we? Stranger Things. Finn Wolfhard, star of Stranger Things, was recently interviewed about the upcoming season that has yet to. It's a little ambiguous. Have they started filming yet? Are they about to start filming? I assume production is close, is nigh at hand. But let's jump into the article here from MovieWeb. This is what Finn Wolfhard had to say about it when being interviewed. He said, "Every season it gets darker. Really, I will say with season 3, I was like, this is the darkest season that there'll ever be, like the exploding rats and everything. But really, season 4 so far, it's the darkest season there's ever been. Every year it gets amped up. Every year it gets funnier and darker and sadder and everything. Every year they amp it up." They even go so far as to say, from the producers on the film, I'll just say the global lockdown definitely massively delayed shooting and therefore the launch of our current season 4, date still to be announced. But it impacted very positively by allowing the Duffer Brothers, who were the creators of the show, for the first time ever to write the entire season before we shoot it and then have time to rewrite it in a way that they rarely had before. So the quality of these screenplays are exceptional, maybe even better than ever. Like I said, Stranger Things, third favorite television show of all time. I love the show. I love the feeling. I love the tone. I love the nostalgia that the show brings. The story is just fun. It's just fun. In fact, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give anything away, but the season 3 finale quite possibly is my favorite episode in that entire season. And all I'm going to say is, turn around, tell me what you see. It is glorious. I could not love the show even more if I tried. Dominica, have you seen Stranger Things seasons 1, 2, 3? Any of them at all? How does this tone strike you?
Yeah, I love Stranger Things. I have seen them all. Although I don't remember much about season 2. Sometimes I'm like, did I miss a season? I'm pretty sure I watched them all.
You know what?
I love the style of it. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so that whole feel of it's great to be able to watch that.
Dead on. It's dead on. You joke about not remembering if you've seen season 2 or not. I feel like that has kind of been the general idea, or rather the general feeling for a lot of people who watch Stranger Things. It's kind of unanimous that season 3 is the best season. I loved season 2. Not a lot of people loved season 2. A lot of people's complaints about season 2 was that it was kind of a rehash of season 1 in some ways. I like origin stories. Origin stories are fine, but what I really love is the next chapter. The first Avengers was great. I loved the first Avengers, but I really loved Age of Ultron. Iron Man 1, great movie. Fantastic movie, but I really liked Iron Man 2. It's like once you get the characters established in the world of which they live and the rules of this universe, and then we kind of get to see them go off on a separate adventure. That's what I really like. And so season 1 was just establishing everything. For me, season 2 was really kind of embracing this world and really getting to live in it for a little bit longer. And so I think that's where I come at some of these stories from a different perspective. Do you have a different take on that at all? Being a legit storyteller yourself.
No, I agree with that, that assessment. I like origin stories too, but I also definitely like to be able to dig deeper into the characters. I I think for me with Stranger Things is more I don't remember the details of what happened in season two. So when I read that article you sent me about the upcoming stuff, I was like, did I actually watch season three, or is what I remember of the last season was that season
Oh,
two?
gotcha. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
more like where, because when you binge watch stuff, as you do with a lot of Netflix series, they kind of blend together sometimes. You don't remember what happened in
It
what
all blends
season.
together. Yeah, there's so much. It all
Yeah.
blends together. Um, what are your thoughts about Finn Wolfhard and oh, Steve Harrington? I can't remember the actor's name. Steve Harrington also kind of hearkened a lot of the comments from Finn Wolfhard himself and saying that, yeah, this is the darkest season yet. It for me, it doesn't seem surprising. Because with every season of television or with every sequel of a film, you want to heighten. Like it's the trick is being able to tell the same kind, maybe not the same kind of a story, but like take the same characters and their beliefs and their modus operandi and whatever, and put them in different situations, which sometimes, hopefully, those different situations will amp up the drama. It will amp up pretty much like the comedy or whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe in my case, just take us on a different adventure. Once you get them established, let's just go off on a different adventure. What do you think about their comment saying that this is going to be the darkest season yet? Does this surprise you? Does this shock you? Does this get you more excited?
I think in context, like it makes a lot of sense to me. Most series, you have to have that escalation. It kind of makes me think of Supernatural in a way, how, that was only meant to be 5 seasons. It ended up being 15. And when they continued it after season 5, it was kind of a progression of like, where do we go to from here? How do we like ramp up from here? Like, how do you make the big bad of that season even worse than the next season, because that was pretty bad. So it's not that surprising that they're doing that with Stranger
So
Things.
let's pontificate for a second. Let's put our heads together proverbially, and where is this show gonna go? Because season one was all about the Demogorgon. Season 2 was kind of about the Demodogs. Season 3 we had the Mind Flayer, which kind of was like the beast that seemed to be controlling both the Demogorgon and the Demodogs. So we have the Mind Flayer, and they took down the Mind Flayer. What's the next chapter? Is there something controlling the Mind Flayer? Is there something? Or I would like to think that our gang is going to spend the majority of season 4 inside of the Upside Down, because they haven't gone there yet. Thoughts?
As possible. My thought as you were talking just now was along the lines of, is it possible for the Mind Flayer to gain more control and like start controlling people like taking over their bodies and things?
Kind of like what it did with oh shoot, Max's brother. I can't think of his name. That guy. The guy from the Power Rangers. That guy. It's possible. It's possible. I don't know. Dominica, final thoughts. Final thoughts about season 4 Stranger Things.
When I read that article and they talked about they were able to write the entire season before filming, my thought was, you didn't do that before. Like in my mind,
I know.
If you're shooting Netflix,
Yeah.
don't you write the whole thing in advance before shooting the whole thing? Like, I didn't know that they were shooting it like regular TV.
Yeah, same. So like, in that same thought, are you familiar? You've seen the movie Die Hard, right? You've seen Die Hard.
It's been quite a long time, but yes.
So I have only recently learned that they were still writing the movie as they were filming it. We like to go back and quote Die Hard and say, it's the greatest action movie ever made. Yippee-ki-yay, right? We love to quote the movie. We love to talk about the movie. We love to say how incredible it is. But the studio and John McTiernan, the director, they had no idea how they were going to pull this off. At the time, Bruce Willis, the only thing he was ever known for was moonlighting. Like, he was the silly comedian. He was the comic actor. He was the comic relief. He wasn't an action star. I think he tried to do an action movie just before Die Hard, and it failed so miserably. And then, for whatever reason, John McTiernan is like, no, I want Bruce Willis. And the 20th Century Fox is like, oh, you're crazy, John McTiernan. John McTiernan's like, nope, this is going to happen. And like, they didn't even know the ending. They had no idea how this movie was going to unfold because they were writing and then filming and then writing and then filming. That blows my mind. That blows my mind that with such great television shows like Stranger Things or even films like Die Hard, that they're able to pull stuff off like this and just make it incredible.
Yeah. It blows me away.
Yeah.
It blows me away. But we're improvisers, right?
I know. It's true, but hey, but we also know as improvisers, we know that's a rare treat. Like that is not the norm. That is the exception and not the rule. Anyway, guys, big question for you is, what do you think of Stranger Things season 4? Are you excited for it? Does the dark tone, like the darkest season yet? It doesn't. It excites me, but it also makes me think like, well, yeah. Like, how else are they going to top themselves? Of course it's going to be the darkest season yet. But what are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, speaking of the comment section below, many of you have been firing in live questions and comments all show long. So now we're just going to jump down to the comment section and take your live comments and questions now.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys, some of you have been firing in live comments and questions all show long, so now we're just going to jump in and take those now. And our first comment comes from Bald Nate, and Bald Nate was our guest on the show yesterday. So Bald Nate, thanks for dropping in and giving us something to talk about. And Bald Nate says, Dominica seems delightful in every way. It's true. Dominica's a sweetheart. Dominica, it's been a while since we talked, and it wasn't until I got you on Skype this morning, after, a couple of years since we've spoken face-to-face, I forgot. You're Australian?
Yes.
I totally forgot. I thought you were one of us. Ooh.
Well, technically, I am a dual citizen. I am American as well as Australian.
Good for you.
And my US passport is the only one that's current, so I have passports to renew too.
Yeah, but when did your Australian passport expire?
It expired last
so
year,
you're still good.
Like January,
You're still
I
good
think.
to renew. I think.
Well, it's not like I'm going there right now, like we're in a pandemic.
Yeah, but it's always good to have an escape plan. Always good to have an escape plan. Karen Alties from the comment section says, hi, Mike Brown. Well, hello, Karen. Karen, a dear fellow flight attendant friend of mine. Karen and I, we've known each other for a long time, and we've been through the trenches, you guys. Karen and I have seen some stuff. As Doc Brown in Back to the Future would say, once his baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious stuff. And that's what Karen and I have seen. Bald Nate says, at some point, I want to hear your Endgame issues, Mike. Okay. okay. It's funny you say that because there was an article that I found in Collider today that I was going to include in the show today. I decided to omit it for time, but it's funny you say that. There's first of all, there's inconsistencies, right? So the writers on the show have differing opinions from the director. When I say the show, the movie, the writers have differing opinions from the directors as to like how time travel works. But those are not my issues with Endgame. Endgame Endgame was a culmination of everything that we'd seen in the MCU so far. Endgame is my least favorite Avengers movie. Believe it or not, it's my least favorite Avengers movie. My favorite Avengers movies go Age of Ultron, The Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, in that order. I like Endgame. When I walked out of the theater, I was blown away, but I was also underwhelmed. Which seems like a huge contradiction, right? Seems like a huge contradiction. The movie was told in 3 acts, and now like we've had some time for it to kind of sit with us, and I like it much better than I did when I initially came out of the theater. One of my biggest problems, you guys, one of my biggest problems with Avengers Endgame, the entire saving of everything, of the entire universe, is dependent upon a rat happening to walk across some garbage in a junkyard, which released Scott Lang from the quantum realm back into our existence and our reality. And that's what kicked off the whole thing. It was Deus Ex Machina nowhere near at its finest. I'm not a fan of Deus Ex Machina. If you're not a fan of what Deus Ex Machina means, it's Latin for the God machine. And essentially, it's a storytelling device. Dominica could probably give us a little bit more clarity on Deus Ex Machina, but essentially, it's a storytelling device to say, well, as a writer, I haven't set my character up to how I'm going to get them out of the situation with their own wits and know-how. So now, because I need this character to get out of this situation, we're gonna let a literal act of God intervene and say, haha, this thing happened that nobody could have seen coming. Guess what? You didn't see it coming because you didn't do any groundwork. You didn't write the story in a way that is smart or clever or anyway. It happened because the narrative of the story needed to happen. But why couldn't you have had where's Scott Lang? Where's he been this whole time? What's happened to him? Hey, all of his stuff was on a roof and put into this. Why couldn't Tony Stark have fiddled about with it? Why couldn't he done this investigative work or Captain America? Hey, where's Scott Lang? Hey, what does this button do? Push. Okay, that I would have been okay with. What I was not okay with was a rat just happening to walk across a button, and that's what saved the universe. That's my big problem with the movie. The whole time travel stuff, and then the last act, but why did Black Widow die? Why couldn't have Hawkeye died? I like Hawkeye, don't get me wrong. He's right there. He's right there. He's one of my favorite figures. I love that one. But we could still have a Hawkeye series without Jeremy Renner in it. And anyway, I could go off on this for probably quite a deal longer. Dominica, what did you think of Avengers Endgame?
I'm just sitting here laughing at all of your thoughts about it. Thinking what an act of God has never happened to you, that something has fallen into place at just the right time, at the right moment that you needed it.
That's different.
Like I understand from the storytelling perspective. Like I get that. But these things also happen.
No, they do. But here's the thing: like in the prior movie, in Avengers: Infinity War, Doctor Strange very specifically says, "I visited the future. I saw 600,005 like different possible realities, right? And there was only one in which they actually won. So of course, like Doctor Strange gives Thanos the time stone, allowing him to snap everyone into oblivion. Okay, cool. He did that strategically, but it was also dependent on like, I don't actually know if the rat's gonna walk across the thing or not. Hope it does.
Maybe the rat was always going to do that.
But if every action has an equal or opposite reaction, how did he, like, there was no way for him to know which possible reality that they were going to be in. I'm just saying, just because he gives Thanos the stone doesn't necessitate, or rather, they did nothing to tell us that that line of events was going to set a domino effect for the rat to walk across the button in just the way that it did.
Right, but also, like, Doctor Strange knew that the only way that they could win was if he had made that decision, regardless of what other things happened after that. Because obviously there could have been other realities that could have eventuated from him making that decision. But he knew that what, like, they couldn't win if he didn't do that.
But that also lends itself to the possibility that that is a completely separate reality. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. It's not a perfect movie, and it's the Avengers movie that I like the least. The whole portals sequence, that was fun. Like, of course, Cap, like, we know he's worthy because he gets Thor's hammer. Like, that part was great. Fat Thor, I really could have done without. I didn't find any,
I was upset with how they treated it as a joke. They could have handled it a much better way in terms of talking about depression.
Yeah.
Rather than having him at the butt of the joke. I did have strong feelings about that aspect.
Or also, like, okay, if you want to use it as the butt of a joke for comedy's sake, okay, I understand. But if, like, let's take our personal feelings out of the overweight issues that spawn from that, and just talk about like pure comedy. You're a comedian. I'm a comedian. I feel like we're authorities. Like, we know what we're talking about here. Okay, if you want to make a fat joke, cool. You can't stretch that same fat joke out for 2.5 hours. Like, from comedy perspective, that doesn't work. And it's not about the fat joke. It's just about a joke. You can't.
I personally, like, I'm not significantly overweight or anything like that, but I do read, I have a lot of friends who are of different sizes, and I read a lot of content about how that kind of, like, fat jokes in general, not good.
No.
I read a lot of body positivity stuff. So in general, I don't think it's something that's a good thing to joke about. Doing it for that long, even worse.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I 100% totally agree with you. Anyway, there's a lot of, like, nitpicky things that I was like, I'm just not okay with certain things here. Also, Tessa Thompson taking over New Asgard, totally cool with, but it felt like an underplayed moment, you know? The whole idea of her saying, like, I don't need a king by my side. I kind of want a queen by my side. Like, hang on a second. That's a big moment. Why can't we lean into that a little bit more? Let's not gloss over that moment. There's just, I don't know. I feel like there were missed opportunities and overindulgences where Hulk, my goodness. It's clear and obvious that the Russo brothers have no love for Hulk. Yes. 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 Dominica, yes. It's, you know, it seems like the Russo brothers have no love for Hulk. I loved what they did with him in Infinity War because it was this real battle and struggle between Banner and the Hulk. Like, what does it mean? Like, Hulk just doesn't want to Hulk out right now. He's scared of Thanos. It makes sense for him to stay inside. And so now Banner needs to do what he needs to do. But why couldn't they have rectified that? Okay, granted, we fast forward 5 years. Why can't we see the growth? Like, how did Hulk and Banner work together to become Professor Hulk? Why did that get glossed over? That is such an interesting, fascinating story narrative. Like, why couldn't we have spent more time there? It's that kind of stuff of like, they glossed over things and spent so much time paying fan service. And you know, like, I don't want to see Professor Hulk go back in time to the 2012 Avengers Battle of New York and, I want to smack the car because I'm intelligent and, this is beneath me. Come on. Nobody wants to see that.
Well, you've got that many characters, right? There's a lot of characters. So it comes down to decisions of which ones do you follow and why, I guess. And I'm someone like, I have read a lot of Marvel comic books as well. From that perspective, like I did have some appreciation, like at the end, Captain America passing on the proverbial torch to Falcon.
Yeah,
was great.
I loved that.
Because that's something that actually happens.
And we're going to see like the progression of that story next month.
Great.
Looking forward to that. All right, we need to get away from this topic for a minute. We've got a whole bunch more to cover. Bald Nate asks, Cruella could be her descendant trying to redeem the name Young Frankenstein style. Interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Dominica?
Why would they call it Cruella though? Like, if it's about somebody's
descendant?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, it could work. It could. That would be interesting. That would be really interesting.
Do we know when it's set, the movie? Do we know if it's like pre 101 Dalmatians or
hold that thought. Let me look this up real quick. What are your other thoughts and theories here?
Start is kind of young in comparison to what Cruella de Vil in movies 101 Dalmatians is, right?
Okay, so IMDb. Sorry, the page is loading. Cruella live action prequel feature film following a young Cruella de Vil. So it says it's a young Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, so it's a prequel. It's when she's probably significantly younger, because I mean, at least she's not actually as old as she looks in the movie.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think that was always just kind of like the theory that everybody else was operating off of. I mean, the synopsis says that it's a young Cruella de Vil. I don't know. I don't know. Interesting. Bald Nate says, for Stranger Things, with the introduction of the Russians, I wonder if we are going global. Like, are there other cracks, holes, openings to the Upside Down? We know that there are. In season 3, they have confirmed that in Russia there are other wormholes or entrances into the Upside Down, but they were the strongest in Indiana, right? They were the strongest there. So that's why the Russians came to... What was the name of the town? Something Indiana. I can't remember the name of the town.
Sorry.
Anyway, but yes, they came to Indiana because that's where the portal was the strongest, and they had the best chance of getting into the Upside Down. But yeah, we do know that there are other ways to get in or other access points, right? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. I still am of the theory that we know that season 4 is the last season. So they're going to go out on a big bang. I would love to see the entire gang go into the Upside Down and have like their big, huge battles there. Because everything, season 1, season 2, season 3 has all been about these creatures coming to our world and they have to defeat these creatures, right? So it kind of stands to reason that whoever's controlling WandaVision, who's pulling the strings there, like there's a bigger entity, something like there's probably something controlling the Mind Flayer, or like Mind Flayer might be like serving a higher deity or something. I don't know. Maybe the whole gang, and maybe the Russians, maybe they have to in the height of the Cold War, maybe they have to get in bed with the Russians and work together. I don't know. That'd be controversial, but could be really cool. Who knows? Bald Nate says, yeah, the rat thing was really stupid. Agreed. Referring to Avengers Endgame. Oh, that bugged me so much. He goes on to say, so I guess all of those other realities are ratless. Dominica, would you like to take this one?
The other realities are
ratless.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean that the other realities are ratless.
And Bald Nate finishes it off by saying, agreed, I didn't like the fat trauma shaming. Yeah, I mean, I understand the joke that they were going for. I don't know. I kind of feel like there is a joke there. Let's play maybe the one joke. I'm not a huge fan of like shaming people, or fat shaming, or trauma shaming. Obviously not trauma shaming. I am very much of the opinion that we can find levity in taboo topics. We can find levity in things that make people uncomfortable a little bit. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is taking it to the point where it really degrades what the thing is. I'm not okay with that. And I kind of feel like this was definitely borderline like degrading of like, yeah, it was definitely fat shaming. Not cool. I'm not okay with that. And from a comedic perspective, I don't want to drag this joke out for an hour and a half. It's not funny anymore, you know? It was kind of cool, I guess, in some ways, to see Thor as like the dude from The Big Lebowski, but that had like that version of Thor could have been done in a way that wasn't, I don't know, like there was it just gets messy. The whole thing is messy. It needed improving. Anyway, Dominica, this ends the show today. Thank you so much for being around and taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy mom. You are busy at work and just trying to carve some time out.
I just told you I was unemployed.
You're a published author. You work every day. But no, thank you so much for like taking time out of your schedule to come and just kind of chit chat some fan theories and movies with us. Can you remind us what projects do you have coming up in the future, and also where can people find you online?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure. I love talking movies and stuff. It's something that I kind of haven't really done for a while. Projects coming up, I don't have really much of anything on my books at the moment. I just finished a boot camp doing data analytics.
Exciting.
And yeah, that was my big thing. Like, it took me 6 months to do. So probably looking for work, I guess, is what I should be doing. But I do have I have an improv business called Improvative Productions. Ooh. So you can look that up at improvativproductions.com. I have an online store there with some designs that I've made because originally I created it so I could film other people's improv shows.
Cool.
Nobody's doing live improv shows on stages right now, so I had to kind of pivot, and I did some designs to put on like t-shirts and stuff like that. I have one of the sticker right now. I don't know if you can see that.
San Francisco. Oh,
So that's one of my designs. You can get on t-shirts and bags and mugs and whatever.
that's really cool.
That's one of them. That's something that I've done. I did like create some like little improv cartoon characters, like speech bubbles, like saying yes and. I call them a yes animal series. But I've only done 3 so far because I've been doing other stuff. So that's my kind of improv related project stuff. Yeah. I've been blogging a lot at dominicacreate.com. So I've got like bits and pieces up there, and I'm hoping to be doing more of that sort of thing as well while I'm in the job search mode.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic. Dominica, thank you so much for joining us today. And is it okay if we put the links to your book projects in the description of the video below? Cool.
Absolutely.
So if you want to check out her books, all those links will be down in the description below, so you can check those out later at your convenience. And also, you said at Dominica Creates?
Yes, that's where I am on Instagram and Twitter.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to have you back on the show, and let's chit-chat a little bit more about all this stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And you guys, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not. Next week, my fiance and I, Kim, we will be going on a road trip down Route 66, something we've been planning for quite some time, which means the normal regular format of the show will not be as you currently know it. So I'm currently looking for suggestions of what we can do while we're on the road, post interesting videos, movie related, entertainment related. If you have any ideas as to what we should create, as to what we should post, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. If you have any segments that you want us to produce, anything that you think would be interesting to create while we're on the road driving down Route 66, hit me up. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your ideas. Send me an email, gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Route 66 would want you to do. Anyway, guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world, if you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, please, I implore you, take those opportunities. And as always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.